Mariam? Tayammum, mashallah. So yesterday's lesson was about tayammum. Anyone who could explain to me what tayammum is? Muhammad, come here. Come sit in the space here. Sit right here. Please, sit here. Right here. Hold on. Okay, Muhammad was the one who raised his hand first. So Muhammad, what is tayammum? Dry wudu, mashallah. So tayammum is a dry wudu or dry ablution. So it basically means there's no water involved when you're doing your tayammum. What are some of the causes of tayammum? What can cause you to do a dry ablution? Lack of water. So if you're at a place where there's no water, then you do tayammum. And then another reason that you'll be able to do tayammum, what's your name? Fahima? When you travel, not quite. Very close. It's coming just close to the lack of water. If you're traveling and where you are, there's no water, you'll have the permission to do tayammum. Abdul Najib? Illness. So if you are sick, if you have a bodily injury on the places that are prescribed to be washed, you have a problem on your face, on your arms, on your feet, then, and if water touches them, your illness or your sickness will increase, or you may even die, then you have the option of doing a tayammum. Okay. And there's one more. Yeah, Qadr?
When you need the water for survival?
If you need the water for survival, yes. So you have a very small amount of water, and you need it for your survival. So those are some of the causes of tayammum. Okay, anyone who will be able to describe how we should do our tayammum? Basically, the furud of tayammum, the integral of tayammum. So when we say you have the permission to do tayammum, how will you do it? Is that Mahmoud? Okay. Salat, okay. I'm sorry, you two look alike. So, yeah.
So you have to get like pure dirt.
Mm-hmm.
Like you have to dig it up. Then you put your hand like this.
Mm-hmm.
You dip it in. Then you start with your face, like
Face and
from the face down. Then your hands, but
Okay.
right to left.
Okay. So, will you do with the same strike on your face and on your arms? Are you gonna do the same strike or two different strikes?
You have to do two different strikes.
Excellent. Yeah.
Wonderful.
So excellent. So you have to have a pure soil. One strike, you wipe your face. And then another strike, you wipe your arms, and that is it. You're done. So that is how you do your tayammum. You come with the intention. Make sure you have a pure soil. Two strikes. The first one, you wipe your face. I'm not saying wash. We're saying wipe. Okay? You cannot wash your face with sand. Okay? You wipe your face, and then with another strike, you wipe your arms. Excellent. And then we get into the topic of najasa, impurities. Okay? So we said there are three types of impurities. Yesterday I gave you the Arabic name. We have مغلظ, مخفف, and متوسط. So مغلظ is a heavy impurity. مخفف is a light impurity. And متوسط is a moderate. And then we defined what each one of them is. A heavy impurity. So on page 28. So فصل النجاسات ثلاث مغلظة ومخففة ومتوسطة. المغلظة. So the heavy najasa, the heavy impurity. نجاسة الكلب والخنزير وفرع أحدهما. That is the impurity from a dog, a pig, or their offspring. So the najasa from those animals, we consider them to be a heavy impurity. والمخففة, the light impurity. بول الصبي, so is the urine of a baby boy. الذي لم يطعم غير اللبن ولم يبلغ الحولين, who has not been fed with anything else other than milk and who has not attained the age of 2 years. So that will be a light impurity. And then all of the other remaining najasa or impurity will come under the category of mutawassita. والمتوسطة سائر النجاسات. والمتوسطة is سائر النجاسات. Okay, hold on. So والمتوسطة, so all the other remaining impurities. So yesterday we gave examples like a pee, a vomit, a blood, a poop, or a wine, khamr, all those things will come under the category of a moderate impurity. So let's get to the next slide. So over here we learn, okay, we have a heavy impurity or a light impurity or a moderate one. How do we clean those najasa? Okay, al-mughalladatu, the heavy impurity, تظهر بسبع غسلات بعد إزالة عينها إحداهن بتراب. So that's on page 29. So al-mughalladatu, the heavy impurity, يظهر, it becomes pure, بسبع غسلات بعد إزالة عينها إحداهن بتراب. So by removing it and then washing it 7 times, one of it should be with soil. Okay,
or oil.
so we said heavy impurity. We're talking about the najasa from a dog or a pig or their offspring. If a dog's saliva gets on your clothes or on your body, what you will do is, first of all, you have to remove that saliva. Okay? You make sure it's not on your body. After you do that, then you wash it 7 times. Of those 7 times, one of them has to be with soil. Okay? So, if it is a liquid najasa, if it is a moist najasa from a dog or a pig, if that gets on your body or on your plate or on your clothes, wherever it gets to, how will you clean it? Make sure, first of all, you have to remove that najasa. Maybe it was the poop of a dog. So first of all, you have to remove that najasa. Make sure it disappears. And then you wash it 7 times. So you wash with water 7 times. And then one of those 7 times has to be with soil. You cannot substitute soil with soap. No. It has to be with the soil. So you have to wash it with soil 1 time. So you wash it 7 times. 6 of them is the water, the 7th one is with soil. Okay? So that soil you can do on the 4th one, on the 5th one, on the 6th one. You can choose whatever order you want to put it. But you wash it 7 times and one of them has to be with soil. Are we good with that? So I've seen some people will say, oh, you can wash with, you can do with soap. That will not do it. You can wash it with soap 100 times if you want. It will still not be pure. It will still be najasa unless you use soil. Okay? So that is the heavy impurity. The impurity, the najasa from a dog, a pig, or their offspring, the only way we could be able to make it pure is we wash it 7 times, and one of those times has to be with soil. وَالْمُخَفَّفَ, the light impurity. وَالْمُخَفَّفَةُ, the light impurity. تَطْهُرُ بِرَشِّ الْمَاءِ عَلَيْهَا مَعَ الْغَلَبَةِ وَإِزَالَةِ عَيْنِهَا. So we said the light impurity is a pee from a 2-year-old boy who has not been fed with anything else other than milk. So that is what a mukhaffaf or a light impurity is. So how do we clean that? Light impurity will be purified by removing the actual impurity and then sprinkling a adequate amount of water. So the amount of water sprinkled should be greater than the amount of urine. So there is the pee of a baby boy on your clothes. First of all, you have to make sure you have to remove that najasa from your clothes, and then you pour water on it. So the water you're pouring on your clothes or on that place has to be more than the amount of the urine, okay? So you basically pour some water on it and then it becomes pure. So that is the mukhaffafa, the light impurity. Very easy to clean it. You just pour some water on it and then it becomes pure. The last one on page 30. Wal-mutawassita, the moderate impurity. So this one, so wal-mutawassita, the moderate impurity, tanqasimu ala qismayn. It will be divided into two categories. So the other two we didn't divide them. But for the moderate one, we're going to divide into two categories. The first one is called ayniya, and the second one is called hukmiya. Ayniya and hukmiya. So ayniya from your ayn. Ayn means the eye. It's something you can see. So ayniya, that which has a substance, is the ayniya. And then the hukmiya is one, a najasa without a substance. What does that mean? So over here are the explanations. Al-ayniyatu, the one that has a substance, allati laha lawnun wa rihun wa ta'amun. So that type of impurity is one that has a color, smell, and a taste. So that's called ayniya. You can see the najasa right here. You can see the urine. You can see the poop. It is right there. You can see it. Okay? You can see it. It has a color. It smells. That is called ayniya. Okay? It's called ayniya. It is a najasa that has a substance, which means you can see the color, you can smell it, and if you taste it, will taste also. Okay? So that's called ayniya. فلا بد من إزالة لونها وريحها وطعمها. So it is necessary that you have to remove its color, smell, and taste. So whenever you're cleaning a najasa which is ayniya, the one that has a taste, smell, or color, how will you clean it? We are not talking about the heavy one. That one is a separate category. Now we are talking about all the other categories of najasa. The pee of everybody, the poop, the vomit, the blood. So how will you clean that? If you can see the najasa, you have to make sure that you have to remove the color, you have to remove the smell, and you have to remove the taste. That's how you clean it. Make sure that najasa disappears. And then, wal hukumiyya, the one that has no substance. So wal hukumiyatu allati la lawna wala riha wala ta'ma laha yakfika jaryul ma'i alayha. So the one that has no substance is the one that has no smell, no taste, no color. Then it is sufficient that water follows over it. So you cannot see the najasa. But all you know is there was a najasa somewhere here on your body. Or there is a najasa somewhere here on the carpet. But you cannot actually see it. Or you cannot smell it. You cannot taste it. So what will you do? You go ahead, get a bucket of water, and then pour water on it. And then that will clean it. Okay? That is the najasa that you cannot see. It's called hukumiyya. It has no taste, no smell, no color. But you know there was a najasa somewhere here. Okay? Or a part of your body there was najasa. You do not know. You cannot see it, you cannot smell it. So go ahead, get water, and then you just pour water over it, and then that will make it clean. Okay? So those are the three categories of najasa: heavy, light, and moderate. The heavy one is the one from a pig, a dog, and their offspring. And how we clean it, we wash it 7 times, and one of it being with soil. We come to the mukhaffafa, which is the impurity from the pee of a baby boy who has not been fed with anything else other than milk and who has not reached the age of 2 years. So that one, if you can see the najasa, make sure you have to remove it first, and then you pour water over it. And then finally we have the moderate impurity, the mutawassita, which is basically all of the other najasa we know. That is divided into 2 categories, ayniya and hukmiya. Ayniya is one that has a smell, a taste, or a color. And how will you clean it? You have to make sure that you remove all those 3 substances: the smell, the color, and the taste. And then the other one is called hukmiya. It's one that has no substance. That means it has no smell, no taste, no color. What you can do is basically you pour water over it, and then that will make it pure. Are we good with that? Okay. So we move on to. Okay. So we are coming towards the end of the first part of the kitab. Okay. See, everything we have been doing, we are still getting ready for the flavor, which is the salah. So everything we are learning right now is we are just getting ready for our salah. So I think this will be the last or the second last thing we will cover before we get to the topic of salah. So here there are some rulings that we need to understand about menstruation and postnatal bleeding and nifas. So al-hayd and al-nifas. So menstruation or the period is called the hayd, and then postnatal bleeding is the nifas. So it's the bleeding that comes after childbirth. So we need to understand a few things about these 2 elements. They are specific to the ladies only. So أقل الحيض يوم وليلة. أقل الحيض. The minimum menstrual period is a day and a night. So just 24 hours. Okay? Some ladies only experience it for a day, and then it is gone. So if it lasts less than a day, less than 24 hours, then we don't consider that to be a period. It's just something else. Okay? But we can only call it to be a hayd or a menstruation or a period if at least lasts for 24 hours. So a day and a night. So aqallul hayd, the minimum menstrual period is a day and a night. وَغَالِبُهُ سِتٌّ أَوْ سَبْعٌ, and it generally lasts for 6 or 7 days. So this is the common one. Okay? So again, the scholars came up with this through a rigorous study that they have done. They asked a lot of ladies how long the period lasts, hundreds and thousands of them, and then they came up with this generalization. It usually lasts about 6 to 7 days. It might be less than that, it might be more than that, but in general, the minimum is a day and a night, 24 hours, and then in general, for the most ladies, it is 6 or 7 days. And then it says, وَأَكْثَرُهُ 15 يَوْمًا بِلَيَالِهَا, and the maximum period is 15 days and nights. So some ladies, unfortunately, will have a period that lasts up to 15 days. So from 1 day all the way up to 15 days, we still consider that to be a normal menstrual period. If it is more than 15 days, then it is not. It is not a menstruation. So you do your shower, you take bath, and then you start praying. Okay? So if it is more than 15 days, then we don't call that to be hayd. It is another sickness or a problem. Okay? So the minimum hayd is a day and a night, 24 hours. Generally, it lasts for 6 to 7 days, and then the maximum is 15 days and nights. And then now we come to the next one, which basically you can understand from here. Okay? you can understand from there. It says أقل الطهر بين الحيضين 15 يوما. So the minimum interval of purity between two menstruations is 15 days. Again, look, if we said here it can last up to 15 days, then you'll be also pure from menstruation for another 15 days. If it lasts for 6 or 7 days, then you'll be pure for 24 or 23 days. So a month is 30 days, so you subtract. If your menstruation lasted for 6 days, then that means you'll be clean from it for 24 days. If it lasted for 7 days, then you'll be clean from it for 23 days. If it only lasted for a day, then how many days will that be? 29. So here it says أقل الظهر بين الحيضين 15 يوما. The minimum interval of purity between two menstruation is 15 days. وغالبه, the general number will be, it lasts for 23 or 24 days. And it says finally أقل الظهر بين الحيضين 15 يوما وغالبه 24 يوما أو 23 يوما ولا حد لأكثره. And there is no maximum limit to the number of days between two menstruations. Some ladies don't even see it for a month or 2 or for 3. It's okay. Okay? So let's say if you are pregnant, then most likely you will not see any periods. Okay? So there's no limit to the maximum number of days that you'll be clean from menstruation. But in general, these are the numbers. You have it for a day. If you have it for a day during the month, then you'll be clean for about 29 days. If you have it for 6 days, then you'll be clean for 24 days. If you have it for 7 days, then you'll be clean for 23 days. If you had it for 15 days, then you'll be clean for another 15 days. And then there are some ladies who never see it. Okay? And then so there's no limit to the maximum number of days between the two menstruations. And then the other part is about the nifas, the postnatal bleeding. It's called the nifas. So أقل النفاس مجة وغالبه 40 يوما وأكثره 60 يوما. So the minimum postnatal bleeding is a single discharge of blood. So just that same day when mom gives birth, maybe that could be the last day she sees any blood. Okay? So it's called majja. So on that day, then the next day the mom sees no more blood. So that is possible. And then it says general, but like this is the common one. So when we say general, here we mean the common number of days. So it generally lasts for 40 days. So tan wala garana samaha. Waxa la dhahaa maamada waxay ku jirtaa umusha 40 maalin. So it's something we say Somali, right? Yeah. It doesn't have to be exactly 40 days. It can be less than 40 days, it can be more than 40 days. But the common number of days that a mom see the blood after childbirth is about 40 days. And then the maximum period is 60 days. So if after giving birth, after 2 months, the mom still sees blood, still sees bleeding, then we don't consider that to be a nifas. It is another medical situation. So she will still do her shower and then pray, fast, and do all other obligatory requirements. So again, we said an-nifas, the minimum postnatal bleeding is a single discharge of blood. So on that day, when mom gives birth, then that is it. She doesn't see any more blood. So that's possible. The common one is 40 days, and the maximum is 60 days. Clear? So okay, so before we get to the topic of salah, there's another thing that I want you to understand which may not be in your book. Yeah, this one. Yeah. So al-ahkam al-shar'iyya. Al-ahkam al-shar'iyya. So I would like for you to copy this. You don't have to copy all of them, but just like the ones in bold, okay? Just write the title, al-ahkam al-shar'iyya, or the rulings of the sacred law. Okay, so sometimes you see someone tells you this is sunnah, this is wajib, this is mubah, this is haram, right? So those things, okay? In Islam, we need to understand these are the 5 rulings that we have. Every action that a Muslim person does will come into these 5 categories. So they are called the rulings of the sacred law. There are 5 of them. Okay? 5 rulings. Every action that we do will come into this 5 categories. Okay? So the other day when we were doing wudu, I was telling you it is wajib to wash your face, right? So it is wajib to wash your arms. So a wajib is the obligatory, right? So what is wajib? So a wajib, or the obligatory action, is an action that you'll be rewarded for doing it, and you'll be punished for not doing it. So like to pray salah is wajib, okay? It's compulsory. If you pray it, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will reward you for it. If you don't, then you expect to receive a punishment from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So that is called wajib. A wajib is one will be rewarded for performing them and will be liable for punishment upon abandoning them. That's called wajib. When someone tells you this thing is wajib, salat, wajib wajib, Ramadan, kula somaya, wajib wajib, right?
For you guys.
Yes.
For us?
Yeah. So like we talked about the alamatul bulugh already. So that part is covered. Okay? So a wajib or obligatory is an act that you will be rewarded for doing it and you'll be punished for not doing it. Got it? That's called wajib. So these are some of the terminology that we have to know. So as we learn about the fiqh, we sometimes see this is wajib. So I don't have to go back and explain what wajib is again. Okay? So we will see some things that we say wajib and sunnah. So I want you to understand what that means. Wajib, هذا ما له فهمه. What wajib اللي يراها. Okay? Wajib is something compulsory that you have to do it. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will reward you for doing it, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala can punish you for not doing it. Okay. Number 2 is called mandub. Okay. A better term to use would be sunnah. Okay? This sunnah. Mandub, or the recommended one, is the sunnah. Okay? So a sunnah is an action that you'll be rewarded for doing it, but you will not be punished for not doing it. Okay? If you do it, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will reward you. If you don't do it, then there's no punishment for it. So but like it is recommended. If you are being rewarded, then why not do it? Okay? Why not do it? Like let's say after we pray the Isha prayer, there's a sunnah you can pray. Okay? There's 2 other rak'ah that you can pray. It is a sunnah. You'll be rewarded for doing it. If you don't pray it, will you be punished? No. Because it is a sunnah prayer. Okay? The same thing like whenever you are doing your wudu, you said if wiping your ears was a sunnah. Doing the madmad and istinshaq, like rinsing and blowing your nose and your mouth, that's a sunnah. If you leave it and don't do it, there's no punishment for it. If you do it, then you'll be rewarded for it. That is called sunnah, or mandub, or the recommended one. And then mubah is a permissible action. One will not be rewarded and will not be punished for abandoning them. So there are some things that when you do them, you will not be rewarded and you will not be punished for not doing them. Okay? So let's say someone chooses to say, okay, I'm only gonna be a vegetarian. Yeah, it's a choice you have. Nadia? Okay, are you getting this? So if you say, I'm going to be a vegetarian, I'm not gonna eat any meat, I'm gonna only eat veggie. It's your choice. It's mubah, okay? It's something that you have the permission to do it. You will not be punished for it. You will not be rewarded for it. Okay, it's called mubah. So when you hear this terminology, remember them. And then we have the makruh. Makruh is the offensive action. One will be rewarded for abandoning it. Get this. One will be rewarded for abandoning them and will not be liable for punishment upon performing them. So if you leave it, so like yesterday when we were talking about some of the things that are forbidden for the ladies in their menstruation. One of them was like the divorce, ad-dalaq. We said a lady in her menses cannot be divorced. But that will come under the category of makruh. One will be rewarded for abandoning it. So if you do not divorce your wife, maybe like you are in a dire situation, things are not working well, and you have to decide, okay, we're gonna part our ways. But if you wait until the period ends, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will reward you for that. But if you go ahead and still do it, you will not be liable for punishment. So it's called makruh. Okay, it's called makruh. And then the final one is called the haram, or the forbidden action. So all of us know haram, right? Yeah. So haram, you'll be rewarded for not doing it, and you'll be punished for doing it. Okay? So it is the opposite of wajib. Wajib was you'll be rewarded for doing it, and you'll be punished for not doing it. Now haram is you'll be rewarded for not doing it. Like let's say zina is haram. Okay? So if you don't do it, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will reward you for it. But if you do it, then you'll be punished. So it's called haram. So I want you to remember these 5 terms. Wajib, sunnah, mubah, makruh, and haram. Okay? Every action that we do will come into one of these 5 categories. Okay? Now you can go to the topic of salah. And now everything that we have been studying, we were getting ready for this. Okay? Salah. Because we were doing wudu, we were talking about najasa and all that stuff, they'll all be applied in the salah. Everything that we have covered so far was making us ready to get to this topic. Alright, so the first thing, a very common one. Oh, I missed my prayer. I did this, I did that. So what are some excuses for delaying your salah? So this is page, yes, it's page 35. Page 35 is Faslun A'daru Salati Ithnan. The excuses for delaying salah are 2. So you only have 2 excuses for delaying your salah. Okay? So delay basically we mean you are not praying the salah at the required time. Okay? So A'daru Salati Ithnan. The excuses for delaying salah are 2. The first one is unknown, and the second one is nisyan. Unknown is sleep. Let's say you were sleeping and you were not able to wake up during the time of the prayer. Then what you will do is, whatever time you wake up, that is when you will pray. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will excuse you for delaying your salah because you did not intend to delay it. You overslept. Maybe you did not hear your alarm go off. Okay? So that one is an excuse you have. It doesn't mean that you don't pray at all. No. Get this right. You will still be required to pray. But when will you pray? Whenever you wake up. Let's say you miss your Fajr prayer. Like right now we pray 6 in the morning. Let's say you woke up like 10 in the morning. So you're not going to say, it is already past the time for Salah, I'm not going to pray. No, that's not what it is. You woke up at 10, then that is when you will pray your Fajr. So you have been excused for delaying it. There's no excuse for not praying it at all. That one doesn't exist. Okay? Until you go into your grave, there are no excuses for missing Salah. So these are the only 2 excuses for delaying it. There's a third one, but we don't want to confuse ourselves with the third one. Let's not focus on these 2. These are the 2 that the Kitab teaches us. So it's sleep, unknown, and the other one is when nisyan, you forgot about it. So you were busy with something. And you forgot that the time for prayer has already passed. You are busy working or doing something, whatever you're doing, as long as there's a halal thing, then you realize, oh, we were supposed to pray Asr like 2 hours ago. Then you're going to pray that moment you remember it. Okay? So you pray the moment you remember it. So you're given the excuse for praying your salah at a later time, but not missing it. So you forgot about your prayer. Maybe you had no watch or whatever happened to you. So the moment you remember that you miss your salah, you miss your prayer, then you go ahead, make your wudu, and then pray. So these are the only two excuses for delaying your salah. أعذار الصلاة اثنان النوم والنسيان. The excuses for delaying salah are two: sleep and forgetfulness. Those two excuses. Okay? So if you sleep, you overslept, it is past the prayer time, you are supposed to pray whenever you wake up. You forgot about your prayer and you realize it is past the prayer time, and then you pray the moment you remember it. Okay, are we good with that?
Yes, sir.
Alright, now we come to shurud al-salat. شروط الصلاة ثمانية. So on page 36. شروط الصلاة ثمانية. The conditions for salah are eight. Number one is طهارة الحدثين. طهارة الحدثين, purity from the two ritual impurities. So you have to be pure from two ritual impurities. I know we're going to learn this in the next slide. So two ritual impurities, one that will require wudu and one that will require for you to do a bath or a shower. Okay? So before you pray, you're supposed to have wudu, right? Yeah, so that is a hadath. So you have to have wudu. Or let's say you had a major impurity, like you were junub, because you had a wet dream or you were intimate with your spouse. Then before you pray, you're supposed to do that compulsory bath or shower. So that's what this two is about. So taharatul hadathain, you have to be pure from the two ritual impurities. One that will cause you to have a wudu and one that will cause you to have a bath or a shower. So you have to be clean from those two. If you just pass a gas, can you go and pray?
No.
No. What are you supposed to do? Take wudu. Okay, that's the first one. And then you had a wet dream, or you were intimate with your spouse, and you, whatever it is, you were junub. That's called a major ritual impurity. What are you supposed to do before you pray?
Mandatory shower.
Yeah, a mandatory shower. So you have to take a shower first, and then you can pray. Okay, so that's the first condition of salah. Taharatul hadathain. You have to be pure from the two ritual impurities. Number two is وَالطَّهَارَةُ عَنِ النِّجَاسَةِ فِي الثَّوْبِ وَالْبَدَنِ وَالْمَكَانِ. You see how already we are applying what we studied already? Purity of the clothing, the body, and the place of performing your salah. So you have to be clean from najasa. We now know the categories of najasa, and we know how to clean them, right? Because you have studied the three types of najasa already. Now another condition of salah is you have to be pure from najasa. Nothing should be on your body, on your clothes, or on the place you are praying on. So if your prayer mat has a najasa, you cannot pray on it. If your clothes has a najasa, then you have to remove it and then wear another one. You cannot pray on it. If there's a najasa on your body, then you have to wash it first, clean it before you can pray. So وَالطَّهَارَةُ عَنِ النِّجَاسَةِ فِي الثَّوْبِ وَالْبَدَنِ وَالْمَكَانِ. So purity of, you have to be clean from najasa, from your body, your clothes, and also your prayer area. Number three was satrul awra, covering the awra or the private parts. So also in the other slides you're going to learn what are the awra or the private parts for men and for female also when it comes to prayer time. Okay, now here we're in the topic of prayer. So these rulings apply to the salah. Okay. So the private parts need to be covered whenever you are praying. So for men, it will be between the navel and the knees. For the ladies, it is all over their body except the hands and the face. Everything else is called awrah when it comes to prayer time. Okay? So this is specific to the prayer. So when we are praying, for the men, we are supposed to cover anything between the navel and the knees. If that is covered, you can pray. For the ladies, when you are praying, every part of your body needs to be covered except your hands and your face. So wasatrul awrah, that is covering the awrah of the private parts. Number 4, واستقبال القبلة. You have to face the qibla, right? Whenever you're praying, facing qibla is a condition. If you face the other side, are you praying? No. So you have to face the qibla. It's another condition. What? And then number 5 is وَدُخُولُ الْوَقْتِ, the commencement of the time of salah. So the time of salah, let's say you're going to pray Maghrib. So you have to know it is Maghrib time. But if you say around 3 o'clock today, you say I'm going to pray Maghrib, is that going to be right? No. So the time of the prayer, the commencement of the time of salah. If you are praying Isha, it has to be Isha time. If you are praying Maghrib, it has to be Maghrib time. If you are praying Dhuhr, it has to be Dhuhr time, unless you have the excuses we now discussed earlier. So the commencement of the prayer time, with the Dhuhr al-Waqt. Number 6, وَالْعِلْمُ بِفَرْضِيَّتِهَا, knowledge of the salah being farad. So you have to understand that you are supposed to pray salah. You have to know that whenever you're going to pray Maghrib, you don't just say, okay, I'm going to pray a sunnah prayer.
No.
You have to understand that this is a farad prayer. And then number 7, وَأَلَّا يَعْتَقِدَ فَرْضًا مِنْ فُرُوضِهَا sunnah, not to regard any of its farad acts as sunnah. So in general, what we recommend is whenever you are praying, just consider everything that you are doing is a farad, is a wajib thing. Everything you're doing. In the salah we have some sunnah acts and we have some farad or wajib or compulsory acts. So if you do not know which one is a sunnah, which one is a compulsory one, then what you can do is you can consider everything that you're doing to be a farad or sunnah. I mean a farad or wajib. Okay? You should consider everything that you do in the salah to be a compulsory, then that will suffice it. But like if you consider, let's say, reading Fatiha, if you say, oh, I don't have to read Fatiha, then you're already missing a farad component of the prayer. So not to consider or to regard any of the farad acts to be sunnah. And then number 8, وَاجْتِنَابُ الْمُبْطِلَاتِ, which is to abstain from factors that nullify the salah. Even though we did not cover that topic yet, but we will cover it. So you have to avoid anything that will nullify your salah. Let's say in the salah, you pass the gas. So you come back to the first one. Now you have no wudu. So you're not praying, so you have to go and make a wudu and start over again. Okay? So, but it's something we will cover inshallah ta'ala later on. So those are the 8 conditions of salah. 8 conditions for salah. You have to be pure from 2 ritual impurities. This will be our next slide. And then you have also to be free of najasa from your body, your clothes, and also the prayer area. Number 3 is you have to cover the awrah of the private parts. Number 4 is you have to face the qibla when you're praying. And then number 5 is the commencement of the time of the prayer. So if you're praying Maghrib, it has to be Maghrib time. If you're praying Isha, it has to be Isha time. And then number 6 is the knowledge of the salah being farad. Knowledge of the salah being farad. Number 7 is not to regard any of the farad acts of the salah to be sunnah. And finally, you have to abstain from anything that will nullify your salah. Okay, so when we were talking about the conditions of salah, the first one was taharatul hadathain. You have to be pure from the 2 ritual impurities. So that's what this is. What are the 2 ritual impurities? I think this will be the last slide we're going to cover today. So, al-ahdathu ithnani. There are 2. The ritual impurities are 2. Asghar wa akbar. We have the minor one and we have the major one. So we have the minor impurity, the minor ritual impurity, and we have a major ritual impurity. So what do they mean? فالأصغر ما أوجب الوضوء. So the minor ritual impurity is that which makes wudu wajib. See, now we're talking about wajib, right? Yeah, so we are using those terms already. So a minor ritual impurity is one that makes wudu wajib. Okay, so if you have no wudu, then you're gonna make wudu. Maybe you pass gas, you use the bathroom, whatever you have done, then before you pray, you have to do a wudu. That's called a minor ritual impurity. So you're only required to make wudu. That's called minor. You use the bathroom, you pee, you whatever it is, then you just go and then do wudu. That kind is called a minor ritual impurity, asghar. And then the major one, a major impurity is one that which makes bath wajib. So you are supposed to have a compulsory shower. And we said there's a discharge of sperm, or you were intimate with your wife, or you had a wet dream, whatever you were, then you are supposed to do a compulsory shower before you can pray. So that's called a major ritual impurity. ولا فاهمة؟ الأحداث are those two. Hadath, or a ritual impurity, one that will make you to make wudu, and one that will make you to do a shower. We have 7 minutes. Add this. So we're going to end with this one, inshallah ta'ala. So awrah. Also another condition for salah was to cover the private parts, right? So when it comes to salah, I told you awrah will be for men is to cover the navel and the knees. For the ladies, every part of the body except the hands and the face. Now here, this is a general one. So when we say awrah, we are talking about 4 types of awrah, or private parts. So awratul rajuli mutlaqan wal ammati fi salati ma bayna surrati wal rukbah. So the awrah of a man generally, and that of a slave girl in salah, is the area between the navel and the knees. So when the Shaykh says generally, what we mean is, so for a man, whether you're in salah, whether you're in public, wherever you are, men have a specific area of their body that we call awrah. It doesn't matter if you're in salah, it doesn't matter if you're staying at your mom's house or your father's house, or if you're staying with your friend's house, whether you're praying salah, no distinction. So the awrah for men generally is anything between the navel and the knees. Okay, so we say awratul rajuli mutlaqan. So mutlaqan basically means between the navel and the knees, regardless of what you're doing. If you're at your job, or if you are with your friends, if you are with your mom, if you are with your father, doesn't matter where you stay. In general, men are supposed to cover between the navel and the knees in any situation, in any place. And it says the awrah to a slave girl, the private part for a slave girl in salah, is the area between the navel and the knees. So none of you or none of us have ever seen slaves, right? So they don't exist right now. But in those days, slaves were people that you go and you buy them and then you own them like an animal. Okay? They are basically your servants. So if you have a slave girl, when she is praying salah, just like a man, she'll be required to cover the navel and the knees. That will be what we call her awrah, okay, during salah time. But we have no slaves right now, so that topic will not even apply in our situation. Then number 2, وَعَوْرَةُ الْحُرَّةِ فِي الصَّلَاةِ جَمِيعُ بَدَنِهَا مَا سِوَى الْوَجْهِ وَالْكَفَّيْنِ. The awrah of a free woman in salah includes the whole body except the face and the 2 palms. So this is the one we were just saying. So this one applies to all of you. All the girls here, this applies to you. The awrah of a free woman. So none of you is a slave. So when it is prayer time, you are supposed to cover all of your body except the face and Yeah, the palms.
or your hands.
And then number 3, وعورة الحرة والأمة عند الأجانب جميع البدن. So the aura of a free woman and also a slave in the presence of a stranger is the entire body. Okay? The entire body. Just like when she's in salah. If you're in the presence of a stranger, then you cover all of your body. So this is for the ladies. And then finally, وعند محارمها والنساء ما بين السرة والركبة. So the aura of a free woman or a slave girl in the presence of a mahram. Last week we talked about mahram, right? Someone who cannot marry you. So if the ladies are with their mom, with their father, with their brothers, or they're among other female, then the aura, the part we call aura, will be the navel and the knees. Okay? In the presence of other female, or in the presence of with their sisters or with their brothers, with their mom or with their fathers. So that will be the part we call aura. Even though it is always recommended for the girls when we discuss specific auras, then in the presence of other female or in the presence of your mahram, then the aura will be, or the private area we consider will be the navel and the knees. Anything between the navel and the knees.